Ladies and gentlemen, every morning we are handed a choice that will shape the direction of our entire day and, over time, the course of our lives. It's not the choice of what clothes to wear or what breakfast to eat, but what truths we will tell ourselves the moment we wake up. Because those first thoughts, those first declarations, are the compass by which we navigate everything that follows. Today, I want to share with you 4 powerful things you can tell yourself every morning, 4 truths that, if you live them, will sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and set your life on a path toward meaning and fulfillment. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you encounter isn't the sun, or the to-do list on your desk, or even the people in your life. It's yourself. You meet your own mind before you meet the world. And that's where the battle is won or lost. Most people don't realize that the tone of their day is set in the first few moments after they open their eyes. That's when the ancient wiring of your brain goes to work. It whispers to you, stay in bed, take it easy, save your energy, avoid anything unpleasant. And in a purely biological sense, that makes perfect sense. You're an organism. After all, your nervous system evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to conserve energy, to minimize risk, and to avoid unnecessary stress. Comfort is survival. But here's the problem: you weren't built only to survive, you were built to become. And becoming requires you to confront discomfort head on. There is no personal growth without the tearing apart of old patterns. There is no meaningful accomplishment without voluntarily facing what is difficult. And there is no sense of deep satisfaction without the knowledge that you chose the harder road when the easier one was available. When you tell yourself, today, I choose purpose over comfort, you are making a declaration that cuts right through the fog of your primitive instincts. You are refusing to live as a slave to convenience. You're setting a higher standard for yourself, one based not on what feels good in the moment, but on what will build you into the person you know you could be. Now, choosing purpose over comfort isn't a one-time decision. It's not something you do once and then coast for the rest of your life. It's a choice you make every day, in 1,000 small ways. It's the moment you decide to have the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. It's when you close the social media app and open the book that challenges your thinking. It's when you go for the run, even though it's raining. These decisions might seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they carve deep grooves in the character of your soul, and those grooves become who you are. Psychologically speaking, the pursuit of comfort creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more you avoid discomfort, the more sensitive you become to it. Your tolerance shrinks. What once required courage now feels impossible. And before long, your life isn't driven by your values, it's driven by your fears. But the reverse is also true. The more you deliberately expose yourself to difficulty in the service of something meaningful, the stronger and more resilient you become. Purpose, then, isn't just a lofty ideal, it's an antidote to weakness. And here's another uncomfortable truth: comfort rarely satisfies. Think about the last time you indulged in an entire day of doing nothing. It might have felt nice at first, but by the end, didn't you feel a kind of dull emptiness? That's because your mind craves challenge. It thrives on the sense of forward movement. Comfort is a sedative. It numbs you. But purpose is a stimulant. It wakes you up, engages you, forces you into the present. That's why some of your most vivid memories aren't of easy moments, but of the times you struggled and prevailed. On a deeper philosophical level, purpose is what integrates your suffering into something meaningful. Life will hurt you whether you choose purpose or not. But if you have a reason, if you have something you're building toward, you can endure almost anything. Without purpose, pain becomes chaos. With purpose, pain becomes fuel. That's why this single decision, to choose purpose over comfort, ripples outward into every domain of your life. It shapes your relationships because people trust those who stand for something. It shapes your work because excellence requires more than showing up. It requires a willingness to endure boredom, repetition, and setbacks. And it shapes your inner life because it gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and face the world without flinching. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up and that voice in your head tells you to take it easy, to put things off, to stay in the warm bubble of what's familiar, you'll know exactly what's happening. That's not your higher self speaking. That's the echo of an ancient instinct that wants to keep you alive, but not necessarily fulfilled. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can obey it and remain exactly where you are, or you can step forward and say, no, today I choose purpose over comfort. Because in the end, comfort will leave you with memories of what could have been, but purpose will leave you with the life you were meant to live. When you wake up and tell yourself, I am responsible for my life, completely, you are making one of the most liberating and frightening declarations a human being can make. Because if you truly mean it, you can no longer lean on excuses. You can no longer point the finger outward and say, it's their fault, or the system is unfair, or I can't because of what happened to me. Responsibility closes the door on victimhood, and that's precisely why it's so uncomfortable. We would rather live with the illusion that the reasons for our stagnation are outside our control, because that absolves us from the burden of change. But here's the paradox: the moment you accept full responsibility is the moment you take back your power. As long as you believe someone else holds the keys to your progress, you're at their mercy. You're chained to their decisions, their moods, their limitations. But the instant you claim ownership over your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions, you stop being a pawn and start becoming a player in the game of life. Now, this doesn't mean denying that there are external obstacles. There are. Life is full of unfairness, tragedy, and difficulty that you didn't choose. But responsibility isn't about pretending those realities don't exist. It's about deciding what you will do in spite of them. It's about saying, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I will play it to the best of my ability. That's where dignity comes from, not from ideal circumstances, but from your response to less than ideal ones. Psychologically, responsibility transforms your relationship with challenge. Without it, every setback becomes evidence that the world is against you. You feel smaller, weaker, more hopeless with each failure. But with responsibility, every setback becomes data, something you can analyze, learn from, and adapt to. The same event that once crushed you now sharpens you. This shift is the foundation of resilience. There's also a moral dimension here. Responsibility means you acknowledge that your choices ripple outward, affecting not just you but the people around you. If you let bitterness consume you, it doesn't just poison your own life, it spills into your family, your friends, your work. And if you rise, if you build discipline, if you face your fears, you carry others with you. You become an anchor in the storm for those who are drifting. People sense it when someone has taken responsibility for their life. It shows in their posture, their eyes, the steadiness of their words. The danger of refusing responsibility is that it breeds resentment. When you constantly blame others, you hand them the power to dictate your happiness. And over time, that breeds a kind of quiet rage, a bitterness toward the world that corrodes your soul. It's easy to think that resentment is harmless because it's invisible, but it shapes your choices in subtle, destructive ways. You stop trying, you sabotage yourself, you convince yourself you never wanted what you failed to get. That's a slow death, and it's self-inflicted. But when you take responsibility, you begin to see possibility where others see dead ends. You realize you don't need perfect conditions to move forward. You just need the will to take the next step. That's why some people who have been through hell emerge stronger than those who had every advantage handed to them. The difference isn't luck, it's ownership. This is why telling yourself I am responsible for my life completely is not just a motivational phrase, it's a radical shift in identity. It's moving from a passive passenger in the vehicle of your life to the driver. Yes, the road might be bumpy, and the weather might be brutal, but you're the one steering. That means you can correct your course, you can accelerate when it's time, you can brake when it's wise. And perhaps most importantly, responsibility gives you a reason to respect yourself. Because deep down, you know when you've been avoiding the truth. You know when you've been blaming others for what you could change. When you drop the excuses, you look in the mirror and see someone who may not have all the answers, but has the courage to try. And that courage compounds, it builds momentum. It carries you through days when motivation is nowhere to be found. So tomorrow morning, don't just recite the words, feel the weight of them. Let them sink in until they become a part of how you see the world. Because when you accept responsibility, you accept the truth. While you may not control everything, you always control something. And often, that something is the difference between a wasted life and a meaningful one. You can spend your days waiting for someone to save you, or you can realize you've been holding the keys all along. Choose the latter and watch your life transform. When you wake up and tell yourself, discomfort is my greatest teacher, you are reframing the entire structure of human experience. Most people go through life thinking that the point is to minimize pain, avoid awkwardness, and dodge struggle wherever possible. It's instinctive. The nervous system evolved to see discomfort as a warning signal, something to pull away from. You touch something hot, you move your hand. You feel social rejection, you retreat. On the surface, that seems logical, but when it comes to personal growth, that reflex becomes a trap, because discomfort, in most cases, is not a sign that you're dying, it's a sign that you're growing. That feeling of unease you get when you try something new. That's the frontier of your development. The burn in your muscles when you're training, that's the signal that they're adapting. The tension in your chest before speaking in front of an audience. That's the exact point where fear and potential intersect. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's the proof that you've stepped outside the stale comfort zone where nothing changes. The problem is that we've built an entire modern culture around avoiding it. We choose convenience over challenge. We engineer comfort into every possible moment of our lives. Fast food instead of cooking, scrolling instead of thinking, staying silent instead of speaking up. And the result? We become weaker, not stronger. We become more sensitive to discomfort, not less. The less we expose ourselves to what's difficult, the more foreign it feels, and the more we interpret it as danger instead of opportunity. If you really think about it, some of your most transformative experiences were uncomfortable while they were happening. Learning a skill, going through heartbreak, pushing through fatigue, confronting a hard truth, these moments reshaped you. They forced you to develop qualities you wouldn't have otherwise touched: resilience, patience, humility, courage. Discomfort is the forge where these virtues are made, but the forge is hot, and that's why so many avoid it. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you start to see discomfort as a teacher rather than a threat. Instead of asking, "How do I get out of this?" you start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That's a radically different question. It changes anxiety into curiosity. It changes avoidance into engagement. It turns life into a classroom, not a minefield. And here's the thing. Discomfort doesn't just teach you about skill or endurance, it teaches you about yourself. When you're comfortable, you're not really testing your character. You don't know the depth of your patience until it's been tested. You don't know the strength of your will until it's been stretched. You don't know the clarity of your values until they're challenged. Discomfort strips away illusions. It reveals what you actually believe and what you're actually capable of. Now, this doesn't mean you should go looking for pain for its own sake. That's just masochism. The point is to willingly face difficulty in the service of something meaningful. That's the key difference. Running into a burning building for no reason is foolish. Running in to save someone is noble. Pain that serves no purpose is just suffering. Pain that serves a purpose is transformation. And the beautiful part is, once you embrace this, you stop living in fear of discomfort. You expect it. You even welcome it. That doesn't mean it stops being hard. It just stops being an obstacle. It becomes part of the process. You lift the heavy weight knowing the soreness will come, and you lift it anyway. You start the difficult conversation knowing it may be tense, and you speak anyway. You step onto the unfamiliar path knowing you will stumble, and you walk anyway. Think of it this way. Comfort is a pleasant rest stop, but if you live there, you'll never see the mountains. Discomfort is the climb. It's exhausting, it tests your limits, it demands something from you, but at the top, you see the world differently. And once you've seen it, you can never go back to the way things looked before. So tomorrow, when discomfort arrives, when your body protests, when your mind resists, when your fear whispers, not today. Remember that this is the very moment you've been preparing for. This is the teacher you've been avoiding, standing right in front of you, ready to show you what you can become. Don't turn away. Step into it. Because the very thing you're afraid to face may be the thing that changes you forever. When you tell yourself in the morning, "If I stay consistent, the future will thank me," you are making a commitment to something most people underestimating: the quiet, unglamorous power of persistence. We live in a culture addicted to immediacy. The moment we want something, we can order it, stream it, download it, and have it in seconds. And while that convenience has its advantages, it has also conditioned us to expect life itself to work on the same timeline. We start something, and if results don't appear in days, or worse, in hours, we begin to question whether it's worth continuing. But life doesn't bend to the rules of instant gratification. Growth, mastery, meaningful achievement, these follow a different law entirely. They require the slow accumulation of effort, the deliberate stacking of small actions, day after day, often without any visible reward at first. Consistency is the force that compounds small investments into extraordinary returns. It is the process by which ordinary people produce extraordinary outcomes. Not because they were more talented or more intelligent or more connected, but because they refuse to stop showing up. The difficulty is that consistency is not exciting in the short term. It's repetitive. It's mundane. It often feels like nothing is happening at all. You might wake up early for months to work on a skill and still feel clumsy. You might save a small of money every week and still see barely any difference in your account. You might train your body and still not look like the image in your mind. And in those moments, doubt creeps in. It whispers, "Ooh, this isn't working. You're wasting your time." But here's the truth. Those invisible days, the ones where you feel like you're getting nowhere, are the days that count the most. That's when you're building the foundation. Psychologically, consistency rewires you. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you're strengthening the connection between intention and action in your brain. You're proving to yourself on a subconscious level that your word means something. And when you do this often enough, you stop being someone who tries to change. You become someone who is the kind of person who follows through. That identity shift is powerful because once you see yourself as consistent, quitting becomes far less tempting. There's also a philosophical weight to this idea. Consistency is an act of faith in your own future. It's the belief that the version of you months or years from now is worth making sacrifices for today. It's a refusal to betray your future self for the sake of temporary comfort. And that's no small thing, because every choice you make is, in some sense, a trade with the future. You are either depositing into it or borrowing from it. Consistency is making deposits every day, no matter how small, knowing that interest is accumulating even when you can't see it yet. Of course, consistency isn't about perfection. You will miss days. You will have setbacks. You will get tired. But the difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not that one group never stumbles. It's that when they stumble, they get back on track quickly. They don't let a missed day turn into a missed month. They don't let a lapse become an identity. And here's something worth noting. The people you admire most didn't get where they are through massive, overnight leaps. They got there by stacking days. They wrote one page at a time. They trained one session at a time. They saved one paycheck at a time. The extraordinary you see is just the visible tip of a mountain built from thousands of ordinary actions nobody noticed. So when you wake up and say, if I stay consistent, the future will thank me, you're making a promise, not just to work hard today, but to work hard tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. You're acknowledging that your dreams are not built in the dramatic moments, but in the quiet, steady discipline that most people will never see. Because in the end, the future is not something that happens to you. It is something you are building right now. And every small act of consistency is another brick in the foundation of the life you will one day be grateful to stand in. Stay the course. Your future self is already waiting to thank you.